We have the most expensive gym memberships, the best supplements, and we work longer hours than almost any other industrial nation. Yet, why do so many of us feel completely burnt out by age 40? We've been trapped by the lie of go big or go home. We set huge goals in January, only to crash in silence by February. But what if the answer isn't doing more? Today, we are not looking at Japan as a travel destination, but as a source of ancient mindset technologies designed to survive chaos. Forget the hustle. Let's learn how to do less, but deeper. You know the feeling, don't you? You wake up, pour your coffee, and before you've even taken a sip, you're already mentally checking a to-do list that feels a mile long. We live in a culture that absolutely loves the grind. Think about it. We have the most expensive gym memberships, the best vitamins and supplements, and statistics show we work longer hours than almost any other industrial nation. We are trying so hard. Yet let me ask you a hard question, a question we usually avoid. Why do so many of us feel completely burned out by age 40? Why do we feel a quiet sense of emptiness, even when we are technically succeeding? We've been trapped by the lie of go big or go home. We treat our lives like a broken engine that needs a massive overhaul overnight. We set huge, punishing goals in January, extreme diets, 5 a.m. wake-up calls, the whole new year, new me mindset. And then we crash in silence by February. It's a cycle of high intensity followed by exhaustion. And frankly, it's not working. But here is the surprising part. Across the ocean, in Japan, life looks different. Not perfect, no place is perfect, but there is a different rhythm. People seem to find focus in chaos and dignity in aging. So, what if the answer isn't doing more? What if the secret isn't running faster, but changing the way we walk? Today, we are not looking at Japan as just a vacation spot. We are looking at it as a library of ancient mindset technologies, mental tools designed over centuries to help you survive stress, find peace and imperfection, and actually enjoy your life while you're living it. So, take a deep breath. Put down that heavy planner for a moment. Today, we don't learn how to hustle harder. We're going to learn how to do less, but deeper. And the first shift starts with breaking one of our biggest American addictions, the addiction to overnight success. Let's be honest about how we usually try to change our lives. We decide we want to get healthy, so we sign up for a marathon. We want to write a book, so we try to write 2,000 words a day. We operate with an all or nothing mentality. And usually by the third week, we end up with nothing. Why? Because big changes trigger your brain's fear response. Your brain loves safety, and drastic change feels dangerous. So it fights back. You get tired, you make excuses, and you quit. This is where the Japanese concept of Kaizen comes in. You might have heard of it as continuous improvement, famously used by Toyota. But I want you to think of it differently. Think of Kaizen as the art of the non-zero day. There's a famous story about the American comedian Jerry Seinfeld. When asked how he wrote such great jokes, he didn't talk about inspiration or talent. He talked about a calendar. He said his only goal was to write one joke a day. Just one, even if it wasn't funny. When he did it, he put a big red X on that day on his wall calendar. After a few days, he had a chain. His only job was, don't break the chain. This is pure Kaizen. It shifts your focus from a massive, scary goal, becoming a legend, to the tiny, manageable action, writing one sentence. If you are over 35, this is critical. Your body and your schedule cannot handle the crash and burn cycles of your 20s anymore. You want to get back in shape? Forget the hour-long CrossFit sessions that leave you unable to walk for days. Just do one push-up. Just walk around the block after dinner. It sounds ridiculously small, right? Your brain might say, that won't make a difference. But here is the math. If you improve by just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you are not 1% better. You are 37 times better. That is the power of the compound effect. Kaizen gives you permission to be imperfect, as long as you are consistent. It creates a non-zero day. And a string of non-zero days is what builds a life of value. But here is the catch. You can be consistent every single day. You can have the discipline of a monk. But if you're fueling your engine with the wrong fuel, you will still break down. Consistency is useless if your tank is filled with garbage. That brings us to our next principle, a rule about consumption that goes far beyond what is on your dinner plate. Now let's talk about fuel. In Okinawa, there's a Confucian teaching recited before meals, Hara Hachi Bu. It means, eat until you are 80% full. The science behind this is simple but profound. It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to send the signal to your brain that says, I'm full. If you eat until you are 100% stuffed, you have actually overeaten. You cross a line without knowing it, and the result is lethargy and inflammation. But I'm not here to give you diet advice. I want you to apply Hara Hachi Bu to something much more dangerous than calories. Information. We are living in an era of information obesity. The average person today consumes about 34 gigabytes of data and 100,000 words every single day. We gorge on news, emails, social media, and podcasts from the moment we wake up until our eyes close. Just like with food, there is a lag time. You scroll through social media for 30 minutes, chasing that dopamine hit. You don't feel the fatigue immediately, but an hour later, you feel drained, irritable, and unfocused. That is the mental equivalent of overeating. You went to 110%, and now you are paying the price. So, here's a rule for your 30s and 40s. Stop at 80%. This applies to your work energy, too. Culturally, we are taught to leave it all on the field, to come home completely empty. But if you give 100% of your energy to your boss or your clients, what is left for your family? What is left for you? Nothing but scraps. Practice stopping when you still have 20% left in the tank. Leave the office before you are crashing. Close the laptop while you can still think clearly. Put the phone away before you get bored. Save that remaining 20% for the things that actually matter. Playing with your kids, talking to your partner, or just sitting in silence. That reserve energy is what protects you from burnout. But here's the hard truth about life. You can manage your energy perfectly. You can be disciplined. You can do everything right. And life will still find a way to punch you in the face. Traffic jams happen. Layoffs happen. Bad news arrives on a Tuesday afternoon. When the world spins out of your control, how do you keep your sanity without screaming? That requires a very different kind of strength. We are raised in a culture that loves control. From the time we are children, we are told, you are the captain of your destiny. If something goes wrong, fix it. If there's a barrier, break it. That mindset builds great businesses, but it also builds massive anxiety. Because the truth is, you can't control the economy. You can't control if your company announces layoffs tomorrow. You can't control the weather. And you certainly can't control traffic on the I-405 or the Brooklyn Bridge. When we fight against things we cannot change, we create suffering. The Japanese have a phrase for this, shikata jie nai. It translates roughly to, it cannot be helped, or it is what it is. Now, to a Western ear, that might sound passive. It might sound like giving up, but it is actually the opposite. It is a form of deep emotional intelligence. Think about the serenity prayer that so many of us know. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Shikata jie nai is that wisdom in action. Let's look at a real-life scenario. You are stuck in gridlock traffic. You are going to be late. You have two choices. Choice A, you grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. You honk. You scream inside. Your cortisol spikes. Your blood pressure rises. You arrive angry and exhausted. Choice B, you take a breath, realize the cars aren't moving, and say, Shikata jie nai. You put on an audiobook. You look at the sky. You arrive late, but you arrive calm. The traffic jam is exactly the same in both scenarios. The only difference is your internal destruction. Acceptance is not weakness. It is refusing to let the chaotic world outside dictate the peace inside. It is saving your energy for the battles you can actually win. So, we have learned to stop fighting reality. But once you stop the noise of the struggle, you are left with something that terrifies most modern people even more. Silence. We run from silence. We fill every second with podcasts, scrolling, and noise. But what if the emptiness is actually where the magic happens? Let's be honest about how we usually try to change our lives. We decide we want to get healthy, so we sign up for a marathon. We want to write a book, so we try to write 2,000 words a day. We operate with an all-or-nothing mentality. And usually by the third week, we end up with nothing. Why? Because big changes trigger your brain's fear response. Your brain loves safety, and drastic change feels dangerous. So it fights back. You get tired, you make excuses, and you quit. This is where the Japanese concept of Kaizen comes in. You might have heard of it as continuous improvement, famously used by Toyota. But I want you to think of it differently. Think of Kaizen as the art of the non-zero day. There's a famous story about the American comedian Jerry Seinfeld. When asked how he wrote such great jokes, he didn't talk about inspiration or talent. He talked about a calendar. He said his only goal was to write one joke a day. Just one, even if it wasn't funny. When he did it, he put a big red X on that day on his wall calendar. After a few days, he had a chain. His only job was, don't break the chain. This is pure Kaizen. It shifts your focus from a massive, scary goal becoming a legend to the tiny, manageable action, writing one sentence. If you are over 35, this is critical. Your body and your schedule cannot handle the crash and burn cycles of your 20s anymore. You want to get back in shape? Forget the hour-long CrossFit sessions that leave you unable to walk for days. Just do one push-up. Just walk around the block after dinner. It sounds ridiculously small, right? Your brain might say, that won't make a difference. But here's the math. If you improve by just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you are not 1% better. You are 37 times better. That is the power of the compound effect. Kaizen gives you permission to be imperfect, as long as you are consistent. It creates a non-zero day. And a string of non-zero days is what builds a life of value. But here's the catch. You can be consistent every single day. You can have the discipline of a monk. But if you are fueling your engine with the wrong fuel, you will still break down. Consistency is useless if your tank is filled with garbage. That brings us to our next principle, a rule about consumption that goes far beyond what is on your dinner plate. Once you stop fighting the traffic, you are left with something that most of us are actually terrified of: silence. In the West, we are taught that more is better. A packed schedule means you are important. A house full of stuff means you are wealthy. Silence in a conversation means something is wrong. But in Japan, there is a concept called ma. It translates to negative space. It is not just empty space. It is the pause between notes that makes the music beautiful. It is the white space on a page that makes the words readable. Think about Steve Jobs. He was deeply influenced by Japanese Zen philosophy. When he designed Apple products, he didn't just focus on what to add. He focused on what to remove. That clean, simple elegance, that is the power of ma. But look at our lives today. We have lost our ma. We fill every elevator ride with scrolling. We fill every quiet moment with a podcast. And as parents, if you have kids, you know this. We treat our children like little project managers. Soccer practice, piano lessons, tutoring. We are terrified that if they are bored for 5 minutes, they are falling behind. But here's the truth I want you to consider. Creativity cannot breathe without space. If your glass is already full to the brim, you cannot pour anything new into it. So, how do we bring Ma back? Start with your relationships. In your next conversation with your spouse or your colleague, try to listen and then pause. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let the moment breathe. You'll be amazed at the depth that appears in that gap. And for your kids, let them be bored. Seriously, cancel one activity this week. Create a ma in their schedule. Because boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the birthplace of imagination. So, we're learning to clear the clutter. We are creating space. But as you look around your newly cleared space and look in the mirror, you might notice something you don't like. You see the cracks. You see the wrinkles. You see the signs that things are getting older and not perfect. And that leads us to the most beautiful and painful lesson of all. Now, I want you to look in the mirror, not the quick glance you do before leaving the house. I mean, really look. What do you see? If you're over 35, you probably see the flaws. The gray hairs coming in at the temples. The laugh lines deepening around your eyes. The stretch marks on your stomach. If you're a mother. In the West, particularly here in America, we treat aging like a virus. We fight it with Botox, filters, dyes, and surgeries. We are obsessed with anti-aging, as if living a long life is a failure. We are terrified of anything that isn't brand new and perfect. But this perfectionism is exhausting, isn't it? It drains your joy. The Japanese antidote to this is wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is often translated as finding beauty in imperfection, but it is deeper than that. It is the appreciation of the cycle of life. Imagine 2 teacups. One is factory-made plastic, shiny and perfect. The other is handmade clay, slightly uneven, with a small crack from years of use. Stained by thousands of cups of tea. Which one has a soul? Which one has a story? The Japanese value the second cup. They believe that things become more beautiful as they age, fade, and break. So, apply wabi-sabi to your own life today. Look at your home. It doesn't need to look like a page from an IKEA catalog or a perfect Instagram post. A scratched dining table means you have had family dinners there. A worn-out armchair means you have rested there. And look at yourself. Those lines around your eyes, they're not defects. They are the receipts of every time you have smiled or laughed in the last 40 years. Those stretch marks, they are the map of where you carried life. Wabi Sabi tells us, stop trying to be a statue. You are a living thing. Embrace the weathering. It means you are still here. It means you have survived. There is a melancholy beauty in that, a dignity that plastic surgery can never buy. But sometimes, life doesn't just weather us gently. Sometimes, it doesn't just leave a scratch or a wrinkle. Sometimes, life takes a cup and smashes it against the wall. Divorce, bankruptcy, grief. When you are completely shattered, wabi-sabi is enough. You don't need to just appreciate the crack. You need to know how to put the pieces back together. And that brings us to the most powerful art form of all. When a bowl breaks in our culture, what do? We sweep up the pieces and throw them in the trash. We say, it's ruined, I'll buy a new one. We apply the same throwaway mentality to our lives. If a marriage gets difficult, end it. If a business fails, hide it. If we make a mistake, bury it with shame. We want our lives to look like that perfect, unblemished bowl we saw earlier. But life has a way of knocking us off the shelf. In Japan, there's an art form for this moment called kintsugi. Instead of throwing away the broken pieces, a master craftsman picks them up and glues them back together. But here's the secret. He mixes the glue with pure gold. The result? The bowl is now crisscrossed with veins of gold. It is no longer perfect, but it is now more beautiful, more unique, and actually stronger than it was before it broke. This is the lesson for us in our 40s. If you are listening to this and you're going through a divorce, or you just lost your job, or you are recovering from an illness, you feel like a pile of shards on the floor. You feel like your value is gone. Kintsugi says you are wrong. Think about a marriage that has never been tested versus a marriage that has survived a crisis, where two people did the hard work of forgiveness and rebuilding. That relationship has gold in the cracks. It has a depth that innocent love can never understand. Think about a person who has never failed versus a person who lost everything and built it back up. Who do you trust more? Who has more wisdom? The gold is your resilience. The gold is the lessons you learned in the dark. So, please, stop hiding your scars. Stop hiding the gap in your resume. Stop hiding the fact that you struggled. Your history is not something to be ashamed of. It is the most valuable part of you. You are not damaged goods. You are a masterpiece of resilience. So we have slowed down. We have cleared space. We have made peace with our aging. And we have glued our broken pieces back together with gold. You are whole again. You are ready. But now a final, terrifying question remains. You are all dressed up with a repaired soul. But where are you going? Why should you get out of bed tomorrow morning at all? Now that you are whole again, we have to answer the big question. Why? Why are you here? If you Google the Japanese word ikigai, you will see a complicated Venn diagram with 4 circles. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. It looks like a corporate career plan. And for most of us, it's intimidating. We think, I don't have a grand mission. I just work in accounting. But here is the truth. That diagram is a Western invention. In Okinawa, the land of immortals, ikigai is much simpler. It translates to the reason for which you wake up in the morning. And here's the most shocking part. In the Okinawan dialect, there is no word for retirement. Think about the American dream. We work hard for 40 years so we can stop. We want to sit on a beach, drink margaritas, and do nothing. But statistics show that for many people, health declines rapidly after they retire. Why? Because we lose our purpose. We lose our contribution. Human beings are designed to be useful. When you signal to your brain that you are done, your body starts to shut down. So, for my friends over 35 or 45 or 55, you need an anti-retirement plan. This doesn't mean working a 9 to 5 until you die. It means finding a purpose that doesn't expire. Look at Colonel Sanders. He didn't franchise Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was 62 years old. Look at Grandma Moses, the famous American folk artist. She didn't start painting seriously until she was 78. They didn't slow down. They just found a new ikigai. Your ikigai doesn't have to be saving the world. It can be micro-ikigai. Maybe your ikigai is growing the sweetest tomatoes in the neighborhood. Maybe it is being the mentor who listens to young employees when no one else will. Maybe it is simply making your partner laugh every morning over coffee. If it gives you a spark of joy, if it makes you want to get out of bed, that is it. That is the fuel that keeps you young. So, stop looking for a grand purpose that will descend from the sky. Start looking for the small things that make you feel alive today. We have covered a lot of ground today, from the way we eat, to the way we think, to the way we age. But information without action is just entertainment. I promise you a way to start now. Not next year, not next month, but in the next 72 hours. Here is your 3-day challenge. We have covered a lot of ground today, and I know how the brain works. You listen, you feel inspired, and then you close the video and forget everything in 10 minutes. So let's pause. Let's look at the map we just drew. It starts with Kaizen, slowing down to take just one small step. It moves to Hara Hachibu, stopping before you are empty. It uses Shikata J9 to accept the traffic jams of life, and Ma to create quiet space in the chaos. It teaches us to look in the mirror with wabi-sabi to love our aging face, and to use kintsugi to heal our broken hearts with gold. And finally, it asks us to wake up for a reason with ikigai. This isn't just a list of words. It is a system for a resilient life. But as I said earlier, information without action is just entertainment. I don't want you to just be entertained. I want you to feel lighter. So, here is your 3-day micro-shift challenge. I have designed this to be so easy, your brain won't fight it. Day 1, the energy detox, Hara Hachibu. For just one night, I want you to practice a digital sunset. Choose a time, say 8 p.m., and turn off your phone. Put it in a drawer, not on the table, in a drawer. Stop consuming. Stop scrolling. Save that last 20% of your energy for yourself. Read a book, talk to your spouse, or just sit. Feel the difference when you don't go to bed mentally obese. Day 2, the space creator Ma. Pick one activity to do with absolutely zero distractions. Drink your morning coffee without a podcast, or drive to work without the radio. Just do one thing. Let the silence come back. It might feel uncomfortable at first, like a muscle you haven't used, but breathe through it. That silence is where your peace is hiding. Day 3, the golden repair kintsugi. Reach out to someone you have drifted away from, a friend you haven't called in a year, a family member you had a small argument with. Send a text. Make a call. It doesn't have to be a big apology, just a simple connection. Thinking of you. Be the gold glue that puts the relationship back together. 3 days, 3 tiny shifts. You don't have to change your whole life. You just have to change the next 72 hours. And if you do this, if you actually take these small steps, where does it lead? It leads to the final thought I want to leave you with today. We started this journey talking about the hustle, about running faster, about doing more. But I want to leave you with one final image from Japan. It's the concept of Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Imagine your life as a walk through a deep, beautiful forest. If you sprint through it, try to get to the finish line as fast as possible. What happens? You arrive at the end, exhausted, sweaty, and out of breath. And what is the finish line of life? We all know what waits for us there. Why rush to get to the end? If you run, you see only a blur of green. You miss the sunlight filtering through the leaves, kamaribi. You miss the moss on the stones. You miss the path itself. These habits we talked about today, kaizen, wabi-sabi, ikigai, they are not productivity hacks to make you work harder. They are permissions. Permission to walk slowly. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to enjoy the view while you are still here to see it. Don't wait for a crisis, a heart attack, a divorce, a loss, to force you to slow down. You can choose to stop running today. Now, I want to ask you one thing. Knowledge only becomes wisdom when you choose it. So, which of these habits do you need most right now? Are you going to start a non-zero day with Kaizen? Or are you going to repair a relationship with Kintsugi? Tell me in the comments below. Just write, I choose Kaizen or I choose peace. When you type it out, you make a promise to yourself. I read every comment, and I'd love to see which path you are taking. And finally, think of one person in your life, a friend, a sibling, a co-worker, who is stressed out, overworked, and on the edge of burnout. Share this video with them. You might just give them the permission they need to finally take a breath. Thank you for slowing down with me today. I'm Silver Age Wellness Channel. Breathe deep, walk slow, and I'll see you in the next story.